all, the left has gotten a hold of the DC riot narrative, and now what they're trying to say is that if all of the Capitol Hill protesters were black, then police would have just, I don't know, somehow like massacred them all in the streets. There's a couple of things wrong with this argument. First of all, we were all here and we all watched as cities burned last summer because of the BLM riots. We had $4 billion in property damage. We had people that were killed, by the way, by other rioters, not by police. We had all of this stuff happening, and we had police that were so, they were just so afraid to be seen as going too hard on protesters that they basically just let them, I don't know, burn cop cars. They drove trucks into Gucci stores. They did all of this stuff, caused all of this chaos on the streets. And these were primarily black people, mind you. And yet they were not killed. They were not murdered in the streets. Police officers did not end their lives. So the fact that the left is now trying to make what happened in DC, they're trying to make the Capitol Hill riots and protests, they're trying to make things all about race, it tells you the fact that they literally have zero ideas. And by the way, when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and their communications team, they started this entire narrative. And the reason why the left controls narratives, the reason why the left always wins, is that their narratives start at the top. And the people see that. So they see Joe Biden and they see Kamala Harris talking about, well, if this were Black Lives Matter protesters, then police would have massacred them. It would have been so much more violent. And then that trickles down. And the fact of the matter is that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris sat silent all last summer while streets burned in the United States, while property was damaged, while African Americans, by the way, died. Not by the hands of police, but by the hands of rioters. They sat behind while all of this stuff happened, and they encouraged more violence and more rioting and people staying in the streets. So for me, I can only take criticism, or I can only take any kind of conversation about what happened in DC seriously from somebody who condemns all riots and all acts of violence. You don't just get to pick and choose. We shouldn't allow the left to get away with this, to get away with pushing forward false narratives and false equivalencies over and over and over again. But that is exactly what they're doing. So when you see Joe Biden and when you see Kamala Harris and you see all of their little minions on the left making what happened in DC about race, saying that if this were black people protesting, then it would have been more violent. Think to yourself, what exactly happened in the streets of America last summer? There were black people violently protesting. There were black people violently rioting. And were they taken down by police officers? Were they treated violently by police officers? Absolutely not. So don't let the left control this conversation, make it a false equivalency, and try to get to your emotions and make it about race when it is just not about race, because it is all they have. We need to stop letting them dominate and control the conversation in this way, because all they have is race, and if they keep on going, this is not going to end well. It's time to start talking about the real issues. And there are some real issues behind what happened in DC. Race is the least of them.